Okay, so I am a little bit, no, not a little bit, that's a lie. I'm fed up. I am fed up with all of the sexism. So I've been, in all honesty, a little checked out for the last year. After the last election, I had to take a breather from the news and all the things that I was inundating myself with. So I started reading, and I'm gonna keep it 100. Reels are like my go-to. They are my favorite, most favorite form of entertainment these days. But in watching reels, there's this I mean, you can find all types of subject matter, right? And it could just be clearly my algorithm that is sending me all these like how to if you're dating and strategies and women are fed up and men are fed up and women can do bad all by themselves and men supposedly according to my 23-year-old daughter are having a loneliness epidemic. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say that I have been married and divorced. I have a child, clearly. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So I don't, I, I'm not resonating with the pain from some of my sisters who have never been married, who don't have children, who aspire to be married and have partnership and have children and be a mother and all those things. And I certainly do acknowledge it and respect it. I was once upon a time in that position and made some very desperate decisions that we will talk about at another time. But I do want to talk about, in all seriousness, just the level of what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm gonna take my time. It's not just the sexism, it's the expectations that are placed on women that have been placed on women my entire life, starting with being a good girl, being ladylike, staying in your place, all of those things that now women are, have been taking issue with, but are now living out loud, living their lives the way that they choose to live their lives, and suddenly there are problems around women making decisions for bodily autonomy, what they want to do with their bodies outside of reproduction, how they want to live their lives, whether they're independent, dependent. There's an issue every time we turn around. Somebody has something to say, right? There is an expectation or standard man-made that we should be adhering to. And I've had a lot of these conversations again with my daughter because I'm always cognizant of one, the example that I set for her. Two, I always want to keep it 100 with my daughter. One of the things that I was most afraid of when she was growing up was raising a child, a female, who was naive. And I definitely didn't want that. I didn't want her to get her information from her friends or from magazines or TV or media or any of those things. I wanted, if she had a question that I was capable of answering, I wanted her to come to me. I wanted to be able to give her the information based on my personal experience and other information I've gotten along the years, or even research that I've done for myself. So that was one of the biggest thing for me. And I will say, thank God for the parents that I had. I have a father who kept it 100 my entire life. The first conversation about the two heads that men have came from my father, came from him talking about, every man has two heads and they don't always follow the one that's on their shoulders, and what that meant for me. I remember having that conversation with him when I was 16, and I had a boyfriend who had been unfaithful, and he picked me up from work and we had this conversation on the way home. And those are things that still in my 50s still stick with me to this day. And I appreciate that my father was candid. My mother was an only child. My mother was both of them are from the silent generation. My mother believed in being seen and not heard. She believed in you know uh, being ladylike, and there's a difference between girls and boys, and boys will be boys and let them be boys, but girls had a different standard, and all of those things that I was raised under, that I had to grapple with over time throughout my life, and expectations that I had for myself and expectations that my mother then had for me, as well as society. So That's just the backdrop, right? Follow me as I flow. So, having said all that, my problem in my 50s is this: nobody, with the exception of probably my father, kept it 100 with me. Women have been scrutinized, victimized, objectified, judged my entire life. I can remember being in health class in junior high with my health teacher talking about girls keeping their legs closed and don't be like a door where everybody gets a turn, and girls running out of the classroom who were clearly sexually active in tears because they felt like they had been vilified in our classroom. And now everybody knew the health teacher was talking about them. So that's one. That's one thing. And because of that, there was this whole um, secretiveness around women's sexuality. Now, granted, I'm talking about junior high. So as we got older, not that things really changed from junior high to college to young adulthood. The standards were still the same. There are still similar standards now. There's still similar judgments about women now. And I think it's just really interesting that the level of sexism on both sides, not just from men to women, but from women to women. Of course, we're our worst critics about how a woman should carry themselves. Let me just start this off with right now, because I'm good and grown. If I knew then what I know now, things would have been completely different. Like, lightweight, I want a do over of my 20s and my 30s because I wasn't given accurate information. If we want to talk about the physiological changes and desires and peaks and all of that in health classes, we should probably keep it 100, because guys are just like, what I'm just going to call them, quick peekers, right? The shit is over for them right about now. And women, once you get your life back after you've been a mother and worn hats for everybody and been everybody's everything, you come into a place, especially in your midlife, when you don't have the same responsibilities and demands, where you are back in touch with yourself, your own desires, not just physically, but what you want out of life, and can finally breathe and make determinations for yourself and have like almost a rebirth. I feel like in the middle of my life, I'm almost having a rebirth. My daughter is grown. I've done everything that I needed to do as far as being a mother and rearing her and being responsible and all of those things. And now I am in a place in my life where I'm trying to determine what's next for me, where I can solely think about me, my own wants, my own desires, and what that looks like. And so it's just interesting that throughout my seasons of life, there have been these expectations that that women seem now to finally be fighting through. And being a cougar, I remember when Cher came, when I was coming up, and people talked about Cher was never really in a great light, and now suddenly being a cougar or an auntie is where it's at. And everybody's going to make their own decisions about what they want out of their life and what that looks like, but I would like the freedom for us to be able to do it without the peanut gallery, without, I'm a Christian, without the church throwing the Bible at me, because clearly in the Bible there were concubines and men had more than one wife and all those things. So all the standards were even different for women in the Bible than they were for men. And at some point, I am of the opinion, especially now with more days behind me than I have ahead of me, I just want to live my life the way that I want to live my life, because ultimately I'm the one living it. I only get one opportunity to do it. And I don't want to live with regrets because I was living according to everyone else's standard, than, other than my own, because I'm the one who would have to suffer any consequences for the choices that I make. So I'm applauding women for their sexual prowess and their sexual liberties, and living life out loud and doing what they want to do. And I find it so interesting that there's this big discussion about getting back to your feminine energy versus your dark feminine energy, and being a brat, and stressing men out and all of these things, when I think if we just were true to ourselves and we were genuine, there are going to be people who take advantage no matter what walk of life you're in, whether we're talking about personally, professionally. There are going to be people who, you know, prey on other people because of their lack of character, which doesn't speak to whether or not you have character. But I'm very pleased with my daughter's generation and her frame of thought, and knowing that knowing her value and her worth, and making the choices that she's made and that she continues to make that puts her first. So many times as women, we get swallowed up in life. We get swallowed up in the roles that we have to play for everyone else. And by the time we figure out that we need to be playing some type of role for ourselves, we're operating on empty because no one's pouring into us, at least not at the level that we're pouring into other people and other things and other situations. So um I just wanted to jump on here because I wanted to be a part of the conversation. And I think that has a lot to do with, where our country's going. The You see that everyone's trying to take us back to a time that we're not going back to, that we are walking in our own truths and our own power and our own strength. And that doesn't mean that we don't desire partnership, or um we don't want partnership. What it means is that we don't require partnership. It's not necessary for us to be happy, be peaceful, to have joy, to even be satisfied. That we can live a life that honors ourselves, and honors and gives place to other people as well. But I just thought that was interesting as as I'm watching reels, and I see, everybody's an expert on relationships and all of that, and how to get the guy, how to get the girl, all of those things, the strategies, the ways to talk, how to text, how to flirt, how to this, how to that, how, all of those things. I think ultimately, if we respect one another and we're genuine and authentic in ourselves, and that's a whole nother conversation for a different time and a different video, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot of people playing a lot of games, not necessarily that they're playing with other people. I think there's a lot of people who don't even really know who they are, so they're perpetrating a fraud against everybody, including themselves. And I think once we get to a point where we can respect other people's choices and decisions and the way that they choose to live their lives, and accept or reject it, to say, hey, either this is going to work for me or that doesn't work for me. Best of luck to you. I'm going to move on, and you do you, and I'm going to do me. Until we can get to that point, we're always going to have these struggles. But as a woman, I want to say time out, on what men want for us. It's time now, we're going to do what we want to do for us. In the same way that boys will be boys, well, guess what? Women will be women, and we're going to do it the way we want to do it, to whomever we want to do it to and with. So it is what it is. It's a new day, and I don't think that there is anything to be ashamed about in that. There's nothing that I don't know how other individuals get passes, but we don't get a pass, or there's a certain standard for us. I think if you're going to have those standards, if you're going to have a morality clause, we all need to have a morality clause. If you're going to live and you want to extol certain values, you need to actually exemplify those values before you start extolling them and demanding them of other people. They say what you're looking for in other people, you're getting. If you're not getting that, what you're actually getting is a mirror of what's inside of you, because you're drawing a like spirit, or you're drawing out the energy that you put out is what's coming back to you. So just a little food for thought. I'm here for it, ladies. I'm here for it. Keep the reels coming because your girl is watching.